Send me $7,350 for my daughter's sweet 16. That was the text from my brother. No hi, no, how are you? Just a demand, followed by glittering photos of a ballroom, a designer gown, and a cake that cost more than my month's rent. Then Dad chimed in 10 minutes later, pay or get out of this family. My name is Elena Marston, I'm 31. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Tell me, have you ever realized your own family only remembers your existence when they need your money? The phone screen glowed like a wound in the dark of my apartment. The city outside was pulsing, car lights, sirens, laughter from some bar. All of it sounded alive while I felt emptied. I read the messages again, slow this time, as if they might turn into something else. They didn't. I'd helped them before. Rent after Dad's stroke, college fees for my niece, even repairs on the lake house they'd never once invited me to. Every time I told myself, this time they'll see me. They never did. Cancel it. Cancel everything. That was all I wrote back. No exclamation mark. No plea. Just stillness. I sat at the kitchen table, the only sound the ticking clock and the hum of the fridge. I thought of the last sweet 16 I attended, mine, where Mom forgot the candles and Dad argued about the catering bill. My brother had laughed, saying, "You're not worth the trouble." Funny how life loops back. By 7:30 a.m. the next morning, my brother's posts were gone. The ballroom booking vanished. The gown boutique had refunded the deposit. And a message appeared on my screen. "What did you do?" I smiled, letting the morning light hit my face. The story had just begun. When I saw my brother's text, "What did you do?" I didn't reply. I just turned my phone face down on the table and listened to the silence that followed. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy, like air thick with judgment. He thought the sweet 16 had collapsed because of some error in booking. He had no idea that the refund requests, cancellations, and account holds were all traced back to one signature. Mine. I wasn't cruel. I was precise. Every cent they wanted was in a shared family trust Mom set up before she passed. I'd been managing it quietly for years because no one else wanted the responsibility. My name on the papers gave me the right to freeze transactions, and that morning I did. Dad called by noon, his voice sharp, shaking with fury. "Elena, your brother's humiliated. Do you understand what you've done to this family?" "I understand perfectly," I said, stirring my coffee. "You taught me to clean up my own messes. I'm just returning the lesson." He went quiet, then whispered, "You'll regret this." Regret. A word they'd thrown at me all my life. When I refused to cover my brother's debts, when I moved out, when I stopped answering their guilt-laden calls. By evening, I found myself scrolling through the photos my brother had sent. The chandeliered ballroom, the sequined gown, the towering cake. The girl in those plans was my niece, Sophia. She wasn't at fault. She was just another pawn in their performance of status and perfection. Still, I couldn't let sentiment stop me. Sometimes love means saying no loud enough for the whole bloodline to hear. That night, Sophia messaged me privately. "Aunt Elena, did you cancel my party?" I stared at the screen for a long time. The truth sat at the back of my throat, bittersweet. Then I typed, "I didn't cancel your day, sweetheart. I just changed what it means." Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time a message from the bank. Dad had filed a dispute. And just like that, the real battle began. By the next morning, my inbox was on fire. 5 missed calls from Dad, 3 from my brother, and 1 email from the bank marked urgent. Trust account hold request. I took a slow breath, poured myself coffee, and scrolled. They were trying to unfreeze the account. The one I'd managed, nurtured, and protected for 8 long years while they spent recklessly. Funny how suddenly they cared about paperwork they once mocked me for doing. I remembered the day Mom gave me the keys to that responsibility. We were sitting on the porch, her voice soft and tired. "Elena," she'd said, "you're the only one I trust with this. Promise me you'll keep it fair." "I promise," I'd whispered. But fairness doesn't always look pretty. Now they were accusing me of theft, manipulation, betrayal. The same words they'd used whenever I didn't obey. Dad even left a voicemail, his voice trembling with anger. "You've embarrassed us, Elena. You're destroying the family name." Destroying? Oh, I was cleaning. Scrubbing years of entitlement, washing away the dirt they'd piled onto me since childhood. I opened my laptop, logged into the trust account, and began documenting everything. The withdrawals my brother made for his vacations, the business expenses, that were actually designer watches, and the quiet wire transfers to his wife's boutique. By noon, I'd compiled a 32-page report. Facts, receipts, and a truth that could shatter their fake family portrait. Then I sent it, not to my brother, not to Dad, but directly to the estate attorney Mom had chosen years ago. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the quiet hum of my computer fill the room. Somewhere, I imagined my brother refreshing his banking app, realizing his credit cards had stopped working, his balance frozen mid-transaction. Mom once told me, sometimes, silence is the loudest answer. That day I finally understood. At 6 p.m. a text arrived from Sophia again. They're saying you ruined everything. I smiled faintly and typed back, no, sweetheart. I just stopped pretending. But I didn't know that one message would soon go public. It happened overnight. By morning, screenshots of my message to Sophia were posted on Facebook. Caption read, "My aunt ruined my sweet 16. She says she stopped pretending. Guess she stopped loving us too." Hundreds of comments poured in. Strangers called me heartless. Old neighbors took sides. Even Mom's friends joined the thread, typing things like, she was always jealous of her brother. I stared at my phone screen, my hands steady, my chest strangely calm. It was almost poetic. The same family that thrived on appearances now bleeding publicly under their own spotlight. My brother must have been behind it. His tone had always been dramatic, feeding off pity like oxygen. But using his daughter? That stung deeper than I wanted to admit. At noon I went to work as usual. The office buzzed with fluorescent light and quiet keyboard clicks. No one there knew that I'd just become the villain in a viral family scandal. But inside, something unexpected began to shift. Not guilt, clarity. During lunch, my boss Meredith glanced at me. "You okay, Elena? You look lighter." I almost laughed. Maybe I finally stopped carrying something that was never mine. When I got home, the apartment felt different. Quieter. The noise of their opinions had faded behind the walls, replaced by the soft hum of evening traffic. Then my phone rang again, this time an unknown number. "Elena Marston?" "Yes. This is Attorney James Holbrook, your late mother's estate counsel. We received your documentation. After reviewing it, we'll need to meet, immediately." Something in his tone wasn't just professional. It was careful. I hesitated. "Is something wrong?" He exhaled. "Not wrong. But your mother's trust wasn't as simple as you think. There's a clause your father never told you about." I stood by the window, city lights flickering against the glass. "What clause?" He paused before replying. "The inheritance was never meant for your brother's side of the family." My hand went cold around the phone. That one sentence, it changed everything. The inheritance was never meant for your brother's side of the family. Those words echoed long after the call ended. I stood there, staring at my reflection in the glass. My face pale, my coffee untouched, my heart suddenly aware of how deep this betrayal truly went. Attorney Holbrook emailed me an hour later. The file was titled Final Clause, Marston Family Trust, Confidential. I opened it slowly, half afraid, half curious. Mom's handwriting appeared in scanned notes, her familiar cursive soft and deliberate. She'd written a personal addendum, one my father had hidden after her passing. "If at any point my assets are misused or diverted from their intended purpose, I authorize Elena to act as sole executor until fairness is restored." Fairness. That one word again. It hit me like a quiet thunderclap. My father knew. My brother knew. And for years they'd pretended I was just the bookkeeper, not the rightful guardian of everything they built. I called Holbrook back. "So, legally?" He replied, "Legally, you're not just a manager. You're in charge. Full control. Every cent, every asset, every decision." Silence stretched between us. Then he added softly, "I suspect that's why your father pushed you away. He feared this day would come." I closed my eyes. All the guilt, all the manipulation, every moment I was made to feel lesser. It wasn't weakness. It was control. That night, I sat down at my desk and began drafting an email. Subject line, Marston Family Update. Inside, I wrote only one paragraph. Effective immediately, all financial and property matters tied to the family trust will be handled exclusively by me. Further misuse or defamation will be met with legal consequence. Elena. No drama. No anger. Just truth. Before sending, I attached Mom's handwritten note. The same note they never expected to see again. Then I hit send. Somewhere I imagined my brother's phone buzzing during dinner, his fork freezing midair, his wife's smile fading. For the first time in years I didn't feel like the forgotten sister. I felt like the storm they created, finally returning home. The next morning my inbox was a battlefield. My father's reply arrived first. A single line, curt and cold. "You've disgraced your mother's memory." Then came my brother's. 3 paragraphs of fury, denial and wounded pride. "You had no right. You've destroyed my daughter's happiness over your obsession with control. You're sick, Elena." I read it twice, then closed the laptop. My heartbeat didn't even flinch. Instead, I opened the curtains wide and let the morning light fill the room, like air returning to lungs that had forgotten how to breathe. For once, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the family disappointment. I felt free. But peace never lasts long in families built on secrets. By afternoon, Holbrook called again. "They're trying to contest the addendum," he said. "But they can't. It's notarized, time-stamped and witnessed. It's airtight." I smiled faintly. "Then let them shout into the wind." He hesitated. "You do know this will burn every bridge you have left, right?" "I know," I said quietly. "But sometimes fire is the only thing that cleans." That evening Sophia texted me again. "Dad's crying. Mom's angry. Grandpa won't talk. I don't understand what's happening." For the first time my fingers trembled before typing back. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry it hurts. But one day you'll see this wasn't about money. It was about truth." She didn't reply. Just a typing bubble. Then nothing. Outside rain began to fall, slow, deliberate, like the world was washing itself clean. I stood by the window watching droplets race each other down the glass. Mom used to say rain was the earth's apology. By nightfall I'd packed a small bag. I needed distance from the screens, the noise, the memories. I booked a room at a quiet inn 2 hours away, near the lake where Mom and I used to sit in silence. Before leaving, I looked at her framed photo on the shelf and whispered, "I kept it fair, Mom." And for the first time in years I felt her smile in the quiet. The lake was exactly as I remembered. Silver and still, a mirror for everything I'd buried. The innkeeper gave me a room that overlooked the water. It smelled faintly of cedar and old summers, like the world had paused just long enough for me to breathe again. I spent that first day in silence. No calls. No news. Just the rhythm of water against the dock and the soft rustle of trees bending with the wind. My mind replayed everything. Every insult disguised as advice. Every time they'd called me selfish for saying no. But instead of anger I felt something new. Release. That night a knock came at my door. When I opened it I found Sophia standing there, soaked, shivering, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. "Aunt Elena," she whispered, "Dad doesn't know I came." My heart clenched. "Come inside." She sat on the bed, hugging her knees. "They're saying you stole everything, but I don't think that's true." I smiled faintly. "It's not about stealing, honey. It's about saving what's left of our name before they ruin it completely." Her eyes welled. "Dad says you hate him." "I don't," I said softly. "But I can't keep paying for his choices." Sophia looked down, then pulled something from her pocket, a silver locket. Inside was a photo of Mom holding her as a baby. "Grandma wrote something on the back," she said, handing it to me. The engraving read, "For the one who listens, the heart of this family." Tears slipped down my face before I could stop them. Sophia rested her head on my shoulder, whispering, "I think she meant you." We stayed like that for a long time, the storm outside tapping gently at the windows. For the first time, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace finding its way home. The next morning, I woke to a message from Holbrook. "Court order processed. You are now sole executor. Media inquiries incoming." I exhaled slowly, watching the sun break over the lake. Mom's promise had come full circle. And I finally understood what power without noise looked like. The following week, the storm settled into whispers. News outlets printed the story of a daughter who uncovered hidden misuse in a long-standing family trust. My phone buzzed endlessly. Interview requests, messages, even apologies from distant relatives who had once called me greedy. I ignored them all. The truth didn't need a spotlight. It just needed time. At the lake house, Sophia helped me clean the porch. She laughed when the wind nearly stole the broom from her hand. Grandma would have loved this view, she said. She built it for peace, I replied. Not for parties. She nodded, her eyes soft but certain. I'm glad you didn't let them take that away. Later that evening I received one final message from Dad. It wasn't angry. It wasn't cold. Just 3 words. We understand now. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. Some things didn't need to be kept. As the sun set, the water mirrored gold against the sky. I took Mom's old notebook from my bag, the one she used for recipes and thoughts. On the last page I wrote, "Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. A door closed, a name cleared, a truth restored." Then I placed the notebook back in her cedar box and locked it. When I looked up, Sophia was on the dock, letting her feet touch the water. "Aunt Elena," she called. "Do we still have money for my birthday?" I smiled. "Yes, we do. But this year no ballroom, no gowns. Just family, the real kind." She grinned, a little shy, a little free. "Can we bake the cake ourselves?" "Of course," I said. "And it'll taste better than $350 ever could." The wind carried her laughter across the lake. I stood there for a while, feeling the quiet settle deep in my chest, not as an ending but as an answer. Mom's reflection seemed to ripple in the light, soft, approving. And for the first time I whispered without hesitation. Fairness kept. Family found.